Amen. Let me see if we are on live watching. Okay, let's see. Give me a second to adjust this one. Okay, public. Here we go. So we are public and we should be good. Hello, hello, hello. Let me see. Just check in. There we are. We are live. All right.
Awesome.
Awesome. Wow, I think tonight's quote is really fitting. So, welcome back to another weekly Black History Live with Posha Malcolm. And we have a special guest tonight. Our theme for tonight is They Were Called Moors. And we're going to have a part two, so don't worry if we don't get to finish everything tonight. So our quote for tonight is, first of all, who were the Moors? Our quote for tonight is, faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. And I'm by Martin Luther King Jr. And I must say that it's fitting because of we doing this new thing of having a guest on our weekly Black History Live. Good evening again, everyone, and welcome once more to weekly Black History Live with Posha Malcolm, where we explore stories that remind us who we are, where we came from, and how far we have come. Each week we learn together with no bias, no filter, just truth and growth. Tonight our focus is on the Moors, who they were and how they impact how far we have come. Before we begin, a quick reminder, this live is for educational and inspirational purposes. I'm learning alongside you. I may not pronounce every name and place perfectly, but what matters is uncovering the history, lessons, and inspiration behind these stories. Starting this month, we'll host a special guest every last Thursday of the month, so mark your calendars. Tonight we have our first special guest, which I'm going to let him introduce himself. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. So, for those who do not know me, my name is RJ, and I'm a student of the University of Toronto and in Canada, and I'm pursuing a career as a professor on Black history in Europe, and I'm majoring in history.
All right. Great combination, I must say. So we are going to get into it, and I'm happy that you have joined us. We have been talking about this for a long time now, and persons have been looking forward to it. And so we are very happy that we are doing this live. But before we begin, we just want to express our solidarity with those who are in Jamaica experiencing Melissa, the hurricane that's there.
Yeah.
So we pray that God keep each and every one safe as they go through this storm. We know that storms don't last, so it will be over, and we're praying that it will be over soon. So God be with each and every one of the persons in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, who will be affected by this storm, hurricane. All right, so my first question, RJ, is who were the Moors and what role did they play in shaping European civilization?
So the Moors were a multi-ethnic group of people originating from North Africa and Northeast Africa, which is now where modern day like Algeria, Morocco, Mauritania, Libya, and those countries. And they were from different ethnic groups, from Amazias, which were a nomadic people. They were from Mandinkas from West Africa, around like Mali and those countries. Others were Black Arabs, originally from the Middle East, that came into North Africa with the spreading of Islam, and they migrated into Spain and Portugal and expanded into places like southern Italy and worked there in southern France and migrated themselves even up to England.
Wow, that's a lot of countries.
I know.
Yes. Wow. And can you tell me what role they play in shaping Europe civilization?
So they changed. So they played a big role in how European civilization is. So in
Mhm,
basically, they were the ones who are the ones that are credited for bringing in the Renaissance into Europe, because
mhm,
around the 5th to 10th centuries, roughly, Europe was experiencing a dark age, and a lot of the philosophies and the maths and all the science that was in Europe from the Greeks and the Romans was lost. And Europe was experiencing disease and plagues and religious loss. And so the Moors, who kept all these philosophies and all these treasures from the Greeks and the Romans, because the Greeks and the Romans also went into North Africa to as their own territory and conquered those lands. So they developed their own thinking, and that's how. And they just basically redistributed. Sorry, I can't pronounce this word. Redistributed. That's the word. To
mhm.
Europe. So they played a role in like bringing back the Renaissance, like those philosophies that was lost in Europe.
Okay, so they kept that part of Europe civilization going, the Greeks and those civilization at the time, they preserved those. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me why do you think the history of the Moors is often left out of mainstream education?
So there are two main reasons of why
Mhm,
they're not in the mainstream. Firstly, because of a colonial European narrative,
mm,
and it's rooted in romanticism and nationalism. So around the time of the late 18th century and going into the 19th century, when Europe was starting to develop their own countries, because before the 17th century, like the late 17th 18th century, sorry, Europe was had empires, and they all had like one kingdom. There was not like different snippets of land.
right.
And so when after the French Revolution, which gave the idea of nationalism and romanticism, like
Friends.
forming a national narrative in Europe, they started to whitewash the Black history in Europe, the Black presence of Europe. So a lot of the times when people say, "Oh, there were no Black people here in Europe," or "There was no Black knights in England," or something like that,
Mm,
that's a product of historical erasure. And because of that, people have this mindset or this idea that all of Europe was all white. Yes, even though yes, of course, that's where white people of European descent
Europe.
are from
Mhm.
originally. But there were also different ethnic groups of people that were not classified in the present day as white. And so as a result, they got whitewashed into European society, and that's why they're not necessarily a part of the mainstream education.
Okay. Right. Thank you so much for enlightening us on that. And another question I want to ask, how did Moorish culture influence the Renaissance period that followed?
Also, good question. So I will start by saying with the buildings, like the architecture. A lot, if you go to countries and like say Italy, for example, if you go to a
Mhm.
city like Venice, a lot of the architecture is Moorish inspired, and I'll give you a little bit more emphasis on that. What I mean by Moorish inspired. So, in a city like Venice, right? There's certain towers, and you when you look at them, they have these special arches that look kind of Arabic, but in fact they're not Arabic. They're actually from originally from Morocco. They're Moorish arches, and of course Islam came into North Africa, so there's a little bit of Islamic inspiration there, but the arches itself is Moorish based. And also, if you go to places Spain, like Spain itself, like the flamenco that developed, there's a mixture of Moorish influence in there in terms of clapping and singing, even though flamenco is originally a Romani dance, but there is incorporation of Moorish dances or African dances into the flamenco because, like I said, the Moors went into Spain and Portugal and mixed with other ethnic groups, so like Roma or Jews and other people in the country or in the region.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I love architecture, and so I definitely will look more into that. And yeah, you referred to the why the Moors were left out, romantic or Roman, that word.
Romanticism.
Yes, schism, romanticism and nationality, and when you talk about the French, and that impact. So the Moors actually, we sometimes look at these structures and we say, oh, they're so lovely, and and all of that. We admire them, right?
Right.
As architects, persons who would like to look at buildings and all of that. But then you realize that the Moors have a big impact on that. So that's
Exactly.
very interesting to know. I did not know that.
Exactly. And I will
Yes.
add this. If you type in the flag of Sardinia, that's an island in Italy, part of
Yes.
Italy. On its flag, there are four black heads on it, and it with a headband on them. And those heads are actually representing Moors, the
Wow.
black presence that were in Italy. In fact,
Yes.
I heard this from my grandmother. She told me this is that
Yes.
Southern Italians have black ancestry in them. And if you look at them, particularly if they're getting elderly, their hair starts to get more curlier in them, and their also appearance are darker than some, let's say, an Italian from the north. So, someone who's in the chat who's Italian, please correct me. Let me know. I'm just seeing. I'm just based on my research,
Yes.
but if someone's Italian, please let me know if this is
Yes.
true or not.
All right, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. All right, so we are going to move on to the last question. I know we started late, and we're happy that we could have this set up. So I'm hoping that next time we have you on the program, we'll have more time to talk about, some more about this more history, because it's really interesting to
Mhm.
know that the Moors from black ancestry play such a vital role in the development of in the Renaissance period of Europe. And the last question I want to ask is, how does understanding the Moors' legacy help Black people reclaim historical pride and identity today?
I think. Can you repeat that question again, please?
Yes. How does understanding the Moors' legacy help Black people reclaim historical pride and identity today?
I think it helps Black people reclaim historical identity and pride today is that once we learn that, firstly, I think it's very crucial for people of African descent to understand that Black people or people of African descent were all over the world, and particularly, especially in Europe. And the reason I say that, because people who were Black people who are from the Americas, like Canada, the U.S., the Caribbean, there's a tie to Europe.
Yeah.
And because there's a tie to Europe, it's very crucial for us to understand is that not every single Black person in Black history was started off as a slave. And because, like I said, there were Black people in Europe that influenced society. There were Black kings in Europe, or Black nobility in Europe. There were people who were in the courts, who were judges, who were technicians, and so forth. And also, it's very crucial to understand, because, and this kind of links to us in the Americas, particularly, because some Black people who were Moors actually came from Europe and went to the Caribbean and in the United States, and of course mixed with and had families, and some of us have that ancestry with us today. And I think it's very crucial for us to understand that we were on that part of the world's history, and especially at a time where in society where everyone is trying to have this kind of racial attachment to certain historical events,
Mhm.
and trying to say to people, oh, you can't be a part of this history because you look a certain way.
Mhm.
And that's not true. Like, people formed, and there's not a single ethnic group that started a civilization. So I think that helps. Yeah.
Okay, very insightful. I really appreciate that. I've had persons comment on my black shorts, and they said, "Oh, that person is not. That person is white. That person is not black." But now you tap into that answer to that question. That you know, it's influence. It's in the blood. It's in the DNA.
Exactly.
So that is powerful, really powerful. I like that. Well, we have like come to the end of our discussion for tonight. But we'd love to have you back again for another insightful discussion. There's still so much to uncover about our history and how it of the Moors and how they impact how we have our civilization today. Now, RJ, thank you so much for joining us on our weekly Black History Live with yours truly, Posha Malcolm. We truly appreciate you for taking the time to share your knowledge and helping us see how the Moors' influence continues to shape the world we live in today. I never knew that they had an impact with the architecture of Europe. And that is one of the things that I caught my attention there. And there are also the flag of Armenia, where you have the four black heads.
Mhm.
That's something to look into as well. And then you spoke about the Arabs coming from where they are, and that the Moors were all over, right? And
Mhm.
yes, we know that civilization really starts with black. So by them, they have spread all over, and the Moors, they have influenced Europe. We have heard it on our weekly Black History Live tonight. So do a little more research in it if you're watching, and let us know what you think. Also, we ask for you to let us know what you like or enjoyed about this conversation tonight. I'm asking you to please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and join us again next week for more powerful lessons from Black history. And I tell you, it was so interesting in speaking with you, and I'm happy that we could officially do this interview. Looking forward to speaking with you again, RJ. And I thank you once more and wish you a wonderful night. Do take care until we talk again.
Thank you, Posha. It was an honor.
Same here. Take care. Thank you so much.
All right, take care, Posha.